Hey guys, it's Friday night again, and I've got a special guest with us tonight that doesn't need much of an introduction. And for those of you who don't know who this is, Eric, tell them who you are.
I am Chef Eric Gephart, Director of Culinary Inspiration for Kamado Joe, and that fur title boils down to Chief Dishwasher, Head Potato Peeler, ready to rock and roll.
Well, that's awesome, Chef. I'm glad you could join me here in the man cave tonight, and we're gonna kick off just like I do here every night, or every Friday night, and gonna break open my single barrel jack and have a few fingers of that to you know kick off the weekend.
Absolutely, John. I went for a New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc this evening.
Okay.
I've been out doing. My wife's put me on yard duty. It's been the hottest day of the year here in North Carolina. So.
It has. We hit 87 degrees here today. So cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah, it's been the warmest day of the year so far. And for those of you that didn't know this, also Eric's a homeboy. He's from here in North Carolina. He lives down in the eastern part of the state, close to some of that really good Cheshire pork. Eric can probably throw a stone at those pigs up there. How close are you to Cheshire, to Heritage Farms, Eric?
Takes me about an hour to get there, but I'm a slow driver. They do some incredible work, and those of you not familiar, John's talking about an incredible company that we both fell in love with that has crossbred a Duroc and a Berkshire 40 years ago, two brothers, and they've been laying down that genetics. When everybody else was driving pork to the other lean meat, they kept the intermuscular fat and the real hogs. They've been layering down those genetics and marbling for 40 years now.
It's awesome stuff. It's about 3 to 3.5 hours for me, but it's time for me to go back down there. I actually sent them an email recently to find out if their stores back open for walk-in traffic, and they have been for a while. I'm ready to load the Yeti into the car and run down there and get some pork real soon. But Eric, once again, I'm glad you could join us tonight. I've got a list of questions that I'd like to hit you up with. First of all, I want to back up a little bit. We all know what you're capable of doing on the grill, but at what point in your life did you decide that cooking was a passion for you?
Well, I saw my mother on the Appalachian Trail make a three-tier cake out of the coals from a fire, a cardboard box, some aluminum foil, and some coat hangers. And I was just marveling at that. Taking a bite of that warm chocolate cake out on the trail when you hadn't seen anything for 4 days, and when you haven't really, you're exhausted, and to get something that decadent was incredible. And then the very next week, my brother, I was enthralled with it. I was like, am I a baker? Am I a culinary guy? What do I do? I talked to my brother, and he's like, you want to make the perfect omelet. You gotta cook the bacon in the saute pan, render out some of the fat, and then cook your eggs in that fat. So I did a whole freaking pound of bacon, and I took it out. I'm like 12 years old at this point, and I'm cracking 2 eggs into you can imagine how much fat is in the bottom of that pan.
So you made some eggs confit, right?
Bro, I can remember the feeling of the cold linoleum floor that my face was on, because I was just like a grease ball. Like I couldn't get sick fast enough to get that out of my system. So I pushed back a couple of years after that experience, and I just came by it naturally, picking up jobs, working in kitchens, falling in love with it, being the best dishwasher there was. And then all of a sudden the fry cook didn't show up for work. So like, yo kid, jump on the fryer. And then, a year of that, you've mastered that. All of a sudden the saute guy doesn't show up. They're like, yo kid, and all of a sudden it's 30 years down the road,
I remember hearing you say one time, I think it was that last time we were together down at Atlanta Grill Company. I think I specifically remember you saying that if you were working as a line cook, that you'd be the saute guy. Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, I worked at some of the best restaurants in the world, and I would not be the guy that would work the grill in a restaurant. Most of the kitchens I worked in are open kitchens. The griller who works in a restaurant, in a fine dining steakhouse, is at the volume I was doing, is pumping out 300 steaks a night, and they're all 100% spot on, not over, not under. And you're just a machine. You're just a machine. Go, drink. You raise your hand and people are bringing you pitchers of water because you're cooking over 700 degrees on the dragon. You know what I mean? You're just rock and rolling. For me, that's not what I'm into, and that's not what draws me to Kamado style grilling or outdoor grilling at all. It's completely different. Being the machine that owns 4 items on a menu, and that's what you're doing for 16 hours a day for, no weekends, no holidays, no birthdays off. You're just the machine, going. So saute to me was a little bit different and more of an expression of art for me in the restaurant sense. But then you start throwing in all the outdoor stuff and all the different methods that you can do on the grill that are not just these staple menu items. So
methods is something else I want to get to a little bit later for sure, because I want to talk about that.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that term specifically, but now that we know how you got into the food scene, at what point did the Culinary Institute of America fall on your radar?
Yeah, I was about to graduate. I was living down in Wilmington, North Carolina, Wrightsville Beach, North Carolina, and I was about to graduate with a literature and professional writing degree from UNCW. And I was like, what the hell am I going to do with this? You know what I mean? Like, I was just thinking,
you could have been a food writer.
What's that?
You could have been a food critic.
Well, not at that point. At that point, I hadn't messed up 4 relationships and traveled the world and, made all the mistakes that need to happen to understand food the way that you need to fall in love with it, right? I think becoming a chef is rarely, when you and I were growing up, was rarely something somebody wanted to do. It's more something that happened to you. But
it's more something I can sit back today and look at and says, if I had it to do over again, I would probably give it a better consideration.
I think kitchens are completely different these days, but when I was coming up in it, there's a lot of mental abuse, there's a lot of physical abuse, and let's be honest, even today, work is probably the last socially acceptable addiction you can have, right? It's okay, it's starting not to be, but it's still socially acceptable to be completely addicted to work, and that's what working in a kitchen is. You see those people more than you see your actual family. So it's tough. I wouldn't change a thing, and I would not steer my children towards it. So if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Were there a lot of Gordon Ramsays in your path up the ladder?
Absolutely. And I wouldn't change a thing. I got more freaking saute pans thrown at me. I got smacked in the freaking hand with a big spoon, but I'm fortunate enough to work with Eric Gephart and Jose Andres and Andrew Zimmer and Anthony Bourdain. I mean, these guys came up in it in a crazy, crazy environment as well. I think the movements that are happening these days and the millennials, it's a different scene inside the kitchen. You can't just expect somebody to come into work, 70. I think my biggest stretch was 78 days straight without a day off. And these are 16-hour days. So when people have a 9-hour work day, that's a half shift. Like, kitchen folks are just different breed. I lived on top of a freaking elevator for like 3 months in New Zealand before the restaurant knew I was living there, because I didn't have anywhere to live. So freaking homeless in New Zealand, working at the top fine dining seafood restaurant, learning crazy amounts of stuff, getting my butt kicked every day, credit card checking for stubble, no smoking cigarettes, no drinking coffee at least 3 hours before your shift, so you can boom, your salt taste is right on. I mean, just crazy.
I never thought about that.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow, that makes some sense. If you can't taste it, you can't cook it.
Yeah, but for a chef's lifestyle, I mean, fueled by coffee and nicotine, you know, and anything else, you know, it's ridiculous.
Well, that answers my next question, which was culinary school what you thought it would be? And I get the impression that it is what you thought it would be, and you loved every minute of it, since you said you wouldn't change anything about it.
So the Culinary, and you and I need to take a trip together. The Culinary Institute of America is the premier culinary school. And I knew when I was graduating UNCW, somebody gave me a boat. I traded it for an Isuzu Trooper and then sold that for a plane ticket to New York. And I'm there, right? I'm there. I'm on a shoestring, but I'm lucky to be there.
I've never been there, but I bought the textbook, and that's one of the most useful books on my shelf. It's something I refer to all the time if I want to learn how to do something, or if I want to touch into a method. You know, we're going to talk about method.
Good.
Because that's something I want to wind up with a little bit later in the conversation. We're going to talk about methods instead of recipes, because one of the things I've learned, you know, and you and I have talked about this, when you learn the methods, you don't need recipes. And that's something that I've managed to learn at this stage in my life that I wish I knew 30 years ago, because I'd be a different cook today had I taken the right approach to that. So
it's the journey, bro. We've still got so much to learn. We're gonna have the same conversation 10 years from now. It's gonna be the same conversation, but completely different. You know what I mean? Like the older I get, the more mature of a cook I get, the simpler things get. Like I was into working in the top restaurants in New York City, doing molecular gastronomy and having spoons with 30 different ingredients in it for somebody to sip. And I'll be honest with you, there's nothing better than just a quick sear on a fish, a little salt and pepper, lemon juice, boom, right over a nice roasted potato. I mean, that is or a spatchcock chicken. Like you can't beat it. You can't beat solid fundamentals and methodology.
It reiterates and reinforces a point that I hear you say. This is one of those situations where you say something that I've been thinking all along. And one of your favorite comments is, you're going to have to help me here. It's simplicity done well wins every time. Is that the quote?
That's the gist of it. Simple things done perfectly win every time.
Win perfectly. That's one of the things when I'm cooking, especially when I'm looking at books, and I look at too many books because people are constantly asking, you know, which Kamado cookbook should I buy? And I don't have an answer for that.
It's obviously, not there yet, John. We haven't written it together yet.
Yeah, but it's not so much the cookbook that people should buy is the one that teaches you something about how to cook rather than teaching you a recipe, teaches you the method. And there aren't any for fire cooking, in my opinion, not yet.
There's some that touch upon it, you know, but they're poets, so it's also abstract. Look at Francis Mallman. I mean, he says 7-5 is really great. We're working with live fire, so there's an element not only of danger but of constant change. You can't tell and nobody's weighing out their charcoal. You know, you can't tell somebody 4 pounds of charcoal and light it from the bottom, not the middle, not the top. And, you know, what's the ambient temperature? So recipes for me, like, I'm sure you get this all the time and you have for years. How do you cook a brisket? It's like, oh, bro, that's freaking 4 years.
Time and temp.
Well, you just how you're at the wow, there it is. Yeah.
Time and temp.
And every single one's going to be different, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's a perfect segue into my next question. And this one is, at what point in your culinary career did you find the attraction to fire?
Oh, way before. So like I'd mentioned with my mom making the freaking chocolate cake on the Appalachian Trail, you know, I'm an Eagle Scout here in North Carolina. I'm pushing my girls. They're 6 and 9 right now, almost 6 and 9 years old right now. And I'm running them through my own program. Anytime it rains over an inch, I make them go outside and start a fire with one match. And it's all about gathering the right wood and you know, feeling the wind and getting out of it, just being out there. So I think I've always had my fingers on the pulse on nature and being out in it. And a lot of times at night that meant having a fire. So,
Right.
and that's where people share their memories. That's where the storytelling is done. You know, here in North Carolina, it's whole hog cookery. So my parents' wedding was a bluegrass band, a volleyball game, and a pig picking. You know, I mean,
Right.
I grew up around whole hogs and stoking the fire and tending to the coals. You know, it's just really, really fun.
Awesome. I noticed that you do a very good job of getting your daughter's hands on the food. I've seen that in a lot of the video content you post and a lot of the pictures. You know, you've not only got them eating some amazing food, you've got them heavily involved in the prep. Is that something that they really love? Are they really into the prep and the cooking?
Yeah, they would be more involved with it than I can even get them involved with it safely right now. You know, I mean,
Right.
it's they've got their bamboo knives that
Yeah.
are not quite sharp enough to cut them, but they can get.
You're not turning them loose with the shoons yet, are you?
Yeah, not yet. You know, but their 9-year-old's there. She's got her own pocket knife that stays in the safe until we go outside. I mean, she's, you know, I think people overseas kind of look at it at kind of loose to see me standing over her shoulder, holding the knife and working with the kiddos. But everybody's still got their fingertips, and
well, it's all about the training. When you've got a master trainer, you can't really go wrong.
I think for me in my career, like getting out of having kids and getting out of the professional kitchen, I tried anyway. I get sucked back into it years later, but opening the culinary school in Morrisville, Raleigh, North Carolina, set the stage for my style of edutainment and being able to teach out of that same Wayne Glisson book, to teach, you know, stocks, soups, meat fabrication, seafood fabrication, garde-manger French, food cost analysis, food history. Like the first time you teach a class, you get in front of 26 students and you have to know all the answers. The first time you teach it, you get your associates. The second time you teach that class, it's a 10-week class. The second time you teach that class, you got your bachelor's. Then you get your master's. The fourth time you teach that class, you know, butchery for 10 weeks. The fourth time you've taught that class, at the end of it, you've taught it for 40 weeks at that point. You got your master's in it. And that's where a lot of my freaking catchphrases come from. That's where a lot of my knowledge comes from. Not going to culinary school, where I excel. Bro, I'm the most dyslexic person you've ever met in your entire life. So I struggled with the English degree. That's why I track to food, something hands-on, something tangible, something I can see people do and I can mimic. When I'm in Japan and I'm watching somebody cut something and they're saying something in Japanese, I'm just watching their hands, and that's getting back to that methodology. But to have had to teach it, to be comfortable and confident enough to speak in front of others and with no notes or anything and be a subject matter expert, that's what really got me to the point where I was like, I got this. This, and, you know, and that was a long time of a lot of kitchens, you know, getting worked in a lot of different kitchens around the world before I was able to even teach and figure out how to get out of the industry, you know.
Right. Well, I knew who you were before you became a part of Kamado Joe through your Kamado Grill restaurant down in Raleigh. I unfortunately never got an opportunity to visit that. I was planning to come down to one of your Saturday classes.
I've been watching your videos. I sent you an invite.
Yeah, I was planning to come down, and it just was not able to happen before it couldn't. But then it wasn't long after that, I got a call from Bobby. And when Bobby told me that he was hiring you, that just amazed me. I couldn't believe that was going to happen, and he was going to have somebody like that to be able to do the things you do. And it wasn't long after that these block parties became a thing. And it was like every other weekend or once to twice a month, you were in some city.
I did 42 parties the first year.
Yeah, you were going to some location with 3 grills and making 942 menu items in 8 hours. And it probably looked like the inside of a food processor. There was probably food flying
Yeah.
everywhere at these things. And they were always, you had them at some breweries. We did some, like at Atlanta Grill Company, various other, some dealers and whatnot. On your stateside block parties, what's one or two that stick out in your mind, and what makes them stick out in your mind that were just fun, somewhere where you just had a really good time?
I think one of the ones we did at Atlanta Grill Company where it just poured down rain the whole time. And
the December one, their grand opening.
That was a lot of fun. That was, I love it.
It was wall to wall people, horrible weather, and a lot of good food.
We're not doing any less than 40 menu items and 100% grill centric, and all the recipes are complete transparency. And there's no hidden recipes, right? So that's part of my thing. Like we got to give all this stuff away. And the parties are free, right? And so we forge great relationships with people like Cheshire Pork and stuff. And what makes it fun for me is people are used to demos. Demos are where chefs go to die. Okay. Right. I want to rip the frickin' table out from in between the people and the grill. If all I'm doing is frickin', here's me, the grill's behind me, and there's a table separating me from the people, it's a waste of frickin' time. And everybody, big green egg, everybody, that's all they do is just serving food. I could care less about serving food. We're creating experiences for people. And I've always been an experiential. All my restaurants too are very experiential. So like, to watch me cook a reverse seared tomahawk, right? Or a scorpion steak. Yeah, it's cool for about 3 seconds.
Well, that's one of the things that's different about your block parties. You're not just cooking. You're not just doing the demo. No. The thing that I like about it, you're making people come put their hands on the food, and get their hands on the grill, and you're handing them the tongs. It's not just a demo. There's a whole bunch of people there that are getting that hands-on experience, and that's a whole different ball game than a demo. Anybody can call up a YouTube video and watch somebody cook on a grill, but to come out to something like a block party where you do the cooking, and it's a whole different experience, and people love it, and that's why these 1,000 people show up at these things.
Yeah, it's experience, and you're going to know how to cook these things when you go home. You're not coming for a feed, right? I see somebody said, "Hey, from Australia." That's what they say, going for a feed. You're coming to get the tongs in your hands. I strategically put stations out with cutting boards and shun knives. Like, these are my knives, just all over the place, and people are using them, and I got maybe a Chef Alex helping out to make sure nobody cuts their arm off, nobody's, some people are like, "Oh, aren't you afraid you're going to lose your knives?" I mean, that's not what kind of parties these are. You know what I mean? Everybody is a part of the barbecue scene, and it's just such a wonderful thing.
Well, I'm looking forward to getting those rolling again. I'm looking forward to seeing that happen again. As you know, I work in the healthcare industry, and it's been a really 2020 and the first part of 21 has been a difficult time for everybody. And I think we've turned the corner on this, and I'm hoping that maybe before the end of this year that we're able to do that, sort of get that thing going again. Do are there plans to get that stuff going again when the time is right?
We got a new marketing team that's got some great ideas. So I'm ready to broach the conversation when they are. I'm starting to do little events, and I'll put this out there for anybody watching right now. The next event that I'm doing, and it is a ticket sold event, is going to be in Virginia at the Tides Inn, and it's called the Crustacean Celebration, April 23rd and 24th. So it's coming up. I just went and checked it out. It's come Friday, I got grills on the beach. It's spread out. People are wearing masks, and
awesome.
and Yeah, so I'm
Be
excited about
sure and
that.
get me the details on that when you have them, because I will post them on Man Cave Meals where everybody can have that, and make sure everybody's aware of that opportunity to buy into that when the tickets go on sale.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. It's right on the Chesapeake Bay, so
Okay.
we're doing blue crabs, and I'm teaching people how to do
Yeah.
lobsters and roast oysters and shrimp, and that's all. I got a kettle. I gave them a Kettle Joe, so they got a Kettle Joe down there now.
Right. Awesome. And with the block parties, it didn't take long for that to go across the borders. I think, let me see if I can remember correctly. It's hard for me to remember. Was when you first started doing this stuff with Kamado Joe, was Australia your first overseas event with them, that meat stock?
So, well, meat stock was another trip, but so remember, Bobby hired me, and he didn't know where he was going to put me. He was like, "We don't have room in the budget for chef. That position doesn't exist." And I was like, "Let's freaking create something." He's like, "The only place we have room for you in the budget would be social media. How's your social media game?" I'm like, "I'm freaking dyslexic that hates to be on his phone." I was like, "Fantastic," So I did that for a while. I think he actually tried to fire me one time. I was sitting in a parking lot, like, what am I gonna do? You know how Bobby gets. He's all fired up. Maybe I spelled like 20,000 things wrong or something. Who knows? Whatever. And so we went on this trip to Australia together. We rented out the Rocks Brewing Company, which is the old penal colony, prison colony there.
Right.
There's some former Major League Baseball player opened a bar there. And this was the first block party. And we invited all of the social media influencers, all of the barbecue teams, which are really big over there, and some food writers and all the people from Barbecues Galore. And all of a sudden, Bobby looked over, and I had him prepping with me. We had keys to the bar. We're drinking Guinness till like 3 a.m, prepping up. I got him making smoked crab dip or something like that. And then the next day, everybody starts showing up, and there's freaking 400 people there. Now, this has never happened before, right? 400 people there. I got the Kamado Joe Classic 2 had just come out. And so I got 3 grills, and we've got so much stuff prepped. We ran 40 menu items on the tee. Everything had its own sauce, and we were just freaking going. And I couldn't do it by myself. So I ran in the kitchen, grabbed 5 extra pairs of tongs, and handed these barbecue guys. And I just took like 5 big steps back, and I got mentally I got my toque on, my chef toque on, and I just started like, flip that steak, get that going, let's see, and so like the air, like pumping everybody up, slapping people. I didn't cook a single thing. I prepped it all to the point where we could push the pause button on the grills, cool it off that night, and then bring them out. And so everybody felt like a freaking rock star. They all had their phones out and social media, and it was 4 hours. And Bobby looked at me and he said, "Buddy, this is what you're going to do." And that's what kicked off.
Was that the first chance you got to show him something like that? To show him how an event like that could unfold?
I didn't know how an event like that could unfold. Nobody can cook 40 menu items in 4 hours. It's impossible. And we
found that that's not the case.
We found that's not the case. And well, the problem is now we're 4 years later, and we've got to reinvent the wheel a little bit, right? So the pandemic came. Here's Eric Gephart, whose 80% of his life is travel, even though I got the girls here at the house, and so what do you do? So this whole virtual thing has just been fantastic. I mean, you've seen it. You got this great podcast going, and interaction is just through the roof. So I feel like I've interacted with more people since the pandemic started on a virtual level than I did even the in-person block parties of thousands of people.
Was being away from home all the time stressful for you?
It was, but I'll be honest, I was home more mentally than when I was a chef. So I told you about that addiction. As you're just joining, I'm talking about the work addiction. Especially as a chef, you feel like you're letting your team down if you're not there to cheerlead them every single night. As a corporate executive chef. And you just can't do that to your family, So it was really hard. But me traveling and such, Like when I'm home, I'm mentally present. I'm in the moment. I'm listening to my kids. In a restaurant, when I'm home, I'm worried about the freaking dishwasher's on drugs. The ice machine's about to go out. This person's not going to show up. My phone's going off. So I'm not listening to what's happening around me at the house. I might as well not even be home. So It was tough, but it was a great transition back out of the restaurant industry once again. So you could say Kamado Joe kind of saved my freaking life, brother. I'll tell you that.
Well, has the pandemic for you been a situation of cabin fever or a well-needed time at home with the family?
I think if you ask my wife, she would not call it cabin fever. She'd say sick of Eric. You know, I mean, I can be a lot. John, I don't know if you know this, but I can be a lot. I can be a lot.
I don't know. When I talked to you earlier today, she had you doing yard work. So if you're not home, who's doing that? She had an 80-acre organic farm in Oklahoma. She's a tough nut. She is. But I got to meet your wife sometime. I don't think I've ever met your wife close up.
We got to get the ladies together. And, perhaps next time you go down to Cheshire Pork, we can all meet up down there.
Let's do that for sure. Tanya loves going down there with me, so we'll get together. The next thing I had on my list was something we've actually already talked about, and that's the video content with your kids and having your kids involved in cooking. But when you're at home, which you've been at home a lot during the last year, some things I've seen through your social media, it looks like you have your own man cave party deck working out there now. You've got a deck
out there right now, and check it out. I have an engine hoist, so I'm able to move these standalone grills because Kamado Joes are not freaking light. I got these standalone. I got an engine hoist and I rearrange it. I'm saving up money to build a pavilion. I have it here. It's a 20 by 16 kit pavilion. I just need to figure out how to incorporate it into the culinary deck. But yeah, I've got a junior, a classic 2, and a Big Joe 3 on it right now. And what happens? People don't realize this. When I'm shooting videos, the videos that come out, I do 21 videos in 3 days. I'm changing shirts in between videos and trying to make it not look like we busted them all out in 3 days. But it's block party feverish busted out because every time I do a video during the pandemic, my camera guy's coming up from Florida or I'm going down there, and then I got a whole week and a half of quarantine after that. You know what I mean? Right. So anytime we're doing videos, we're busting out 21 videos in 3 days, and just I forget why I even started talking about this, but I think it's important, so when you're at home, different. I'm at home, but the work is completely different for me because of kind of that situation. The kids help out tremendously with it. I mean, they're my biggest.
When you're at home, like during this pandemic, everybody's got to eat. There's the cooking doesn't stop, but when you're at home, this is not Kamado Joe. This is not social media. Do you do most of the cooking for your wife and kids?
I'd say my wife does more cooking than I do, and when I cook, she's very judgmental. She's not here right now, so I can say this. She's very judgmental.
Is she critical of your cooking? Is she critical? Does she complain?
Big time, bro. Big. I mean, she would say she's my biggest cheerleader. Really, the kids are. She beats me up, bro. Beats me up. Whoops me.
Now, give me an example. I need an example of this now. I want to know how that happened.
Yeah. No. Like too much salt, too much dressing on salads. I don't even dress a salad. I'm beautiful at dressing salads. Like it was on a plate like it fell out of the forest. It's fantastic.
I've had your vinaigrettes before, so I know that can't be true.
They're great. My Caesar is my claim to fame. My Caesar, my grilled Caesar, no less.
Well, I feel blessed then because I actually got a compliment from your wife on one of my recipes.
Which one?
It was a baked spaghetti and meatballs.
Beautiful.
she said something about it. It was a rather spicy tomato sauce that I put together and she had left me a comment. This was years ago. This, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe not that long. She left a comment on it that she thought that was she had done it and she really loved it. And I was just I didn't know what to say, because
she's a great cook, bro.
Yeah.
She was vegetarian for like a decade. I mean,
right.
Listen, we're pretty much pescatarian here too. We'll cook a steak every now and again. We'll cook pork every now and again, but we really track. I got a couple grills down at the beach, and we track down to Rice Beach quite a bit, and just can't help ourselves. It's fresh seafood. It's whatever vegetables are in season. Seasonality is a big part of how we eat at the house. But my wife, here's our playbook, John. Monday is soup Mondays. Every Monday she makes a banging soup. Tuesday is Taco Tuesday. Kids freaking look forward to it. We're sitting down at the dinner table. I hate to say it, the tablet's on, and we're watching freaking Jeopardy in the background and Wheel of Fortune. Okay, nothing crazy. And
nothing wrong with Vanna.
That's right. Monday through Friday, and then let's see. That's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Sometimes it's like Wacky Wednesday, so maybe we do a little breakfast for dinner. But it's pretty much staple. And then if I'm doing videos, we'll roll some of that in. But the majority of food that I cook goes to the neighbors for hush money, because for some reason, like, my neighbors are always mowing their freaking lawn, and that kills your audio.
Oh, good.
Like,
I live on a noisy street corner. I'm feeling you, brother. It's bad.
Yeah. Oh, I love your setup. I've seen your new deck and stuff. I mean, it's fantastic. But to have a neighbor mow when you're 3/4 of the way done with the video, and you're like, it's like 6:45 and it's gonna get dark, and you're really like, I only need to say 4 more words. I need to. So I'm freaking throwing lobster tails to the neighbors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then there's nothing left for me except for that one bite, and I hate eating on camera.
I know, but I've noticed you're doing that more frequently now. You're taking that test bite.
My guy pushed me.
I quit doing it. I do it very rarely now, because it's a no-win situation, because I got complaints about doing it, and then I've got complaints about not doing it. So
it's like ribs. You want them fall off the bone, or you want to have a bite. It's a 50,
I just have to tell people, you take my word for it that it's good. If you don't trust me, then go look at Malcolm Reed's videos or somebody else. Malcolm knows what he's doing.
Pitmaster X. He's still trying to figure it out.
Well, I don't know. That's something else we're going to talk about. Rule. Rule's got a new YouTube channel out that I'm really enjoying, because it's getting a little opportunity to meet Rule. It's not so much about cooking; it's about other things that are going on behind the scenes with Rule. And that's actually the perfect segue into my next question about your international travel. I want you to tell me what it's like to be on the road in Europe in a Jeep for 10 days with Rule.
It's smelly. Especially when the passenger side window breaks like on day 2. Yeah, so we had a junior and a classic. We did 7 countries in 10 days. We bought a freaking 1974 Jeep Wagoneer from somewhere in Amsterdam. Beautiful V8, sound like a boat, driving down the Autobahn. And in Europe, they love you or they hate you. So the Ferrari guys are pulling up like, beep, beep. And we're like, womp, womp, they love it. They love it. But
does that car still exist?
The freaking guy sold it in the UK. So we should have kept that thing. It had KJ decals on it. We took it to Spoga in Germany, the world's largest outdoor trade fair. I mean, it was iconic. I think we paid like $9,000 for it. I think they sold it for $1,000. I was like, you guys,
$9,000 is a bargain. I came across one of these. I'll have to show you. I took some photos of it. There was one sitting with a for sale sign in the next town over for me that was the same color as the one you guys had, but it was a 1981 or 82 model. It was slightly newer than the one you had.
8 years.
They wanted $20,000 for this thing, and it had 106,000 original miles on it. So I took some pictures of it, and I sent them to a buddy of mine who is in the know when it comes to off-road stuff. And I said, John, is this vehicle worth this much, or are they just asking way too much money for it? And he says, well, he says, John, believe it or not, those Jeeps are commanding a lot of money. They're very high demand. But he says that one I'd feel more comfortable with at 15 grand, which is still more than I would have spent on it. If I could have had that for 8 or 9 grand, I was going to buy it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, it's going to need some work. It's going to need some TLC, but that's
didn't look like it needed any work on the outside. If there was any work that needed to be done, it was under the hood. But yeah. I didn't even get that far with it because I wasn't going to offer them 75% of what they were asking, since that was more than I would have paid for it to begin with. But that Jeep, when I saw that, when you guys started putting this content together, I said, this is going to be fun.
You know, that was an incredible journey. And, you know, Roll and I, Pitmaster X, we were already great friends. You know, I don't think he was used to the North Carolina mentality of somebody giving him some shit. You know, and yeah. I'm serving it up to him left and right, and he just can't stop laughing. So we didn't stop laughing for 10 days. And he needs somebody, and I hope I'm going to send him the link, and I'm going to send him the timestamp on this. He needs somebody to be like, bro, it's not your turn to be in front of the camera. I'm sorry. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. You know, you've said this tagline for the last 3 days. Let's get something new in here. We just caught these trout out of the Socha River in Slovenia.
Mm-hmm.
Let's show them how to cook it instead of how Pitmaster X would mess it up. No,
oh man, I'd like to figure out how to get Rule on here with me one Friday night, but it's like 1 a.m. his time when I do this. This is kind of hard to do. It would be extremely hard for him. So I do have some occasional Europeans popping on here. Like I've had some Scandinavians. There's a guy from Norway that joins me here periodically on Friday night. He must be a late nighter over there, but
yeah.
You've met some incredible people. Tell me a little bit about our friend Bjorn in Sweden.
Bjorn, so last trip I took to Europe, I think me and Bjorn got a little trouble together. I can't remember if we met up in Estonia. I think we met up in Estonia, and it was just a huge barbecue in Parnu. And Bjorn cooks on his grill twice a day. You know, he is a master electrician. You know, just really, really crafty. Like many Scandinavians, huge into heavy metal.
Right.
So I think when we were in. We weren't in Sweden. I don't know. We were in some freaking, maybe it was North. I don't know. I'm the worst. I've been everywhere and I don't know where I've been.
Well, Rule was with you guys on that adventure also, I believe. It
was Ben Forte.
Yeah.
And me and him. We got in some trouble way up north in Lapland, which is like where Santa Claus is supposed to live.
Oh boy.
We went to a sweat lodge that's like a sauna, but it was a fire sauna. And so like the elders of this 400-year-old cattle farm had built the fire 2 days ahead of time and got it all freaking crazy hot. And then we got in there.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's as far as the story needs to go, I think, but I got a little HR trouble with that anyways, you know, and we're still trying to figure out the Masterville Kamado Joe dynamic at that point, you know. So
our friend Stephen Hickey says Bjorn would never cause trouble. Check this out.
Yeah, well, Bjorn might say 3 words. All right, so here's Bobby Brennan's take on Bjorn. We're standing in Germany. I'm doing my thing. I'm like, guys, come check out this, come check out that, blah, blah, blah. Bjorn hasn't said a word in 12 hours. You know? He's like, I'd make this pizza. I'd make this pizza. You know, this is how I like to do it. And Bobby says, Bjorn, you're freaking cool without even saying anything. He looks at me and he's like, this guy's got to say freaking 14,000 words to be cool. You don't even need to say a thing, you know. I was like, Bob, you hit the nail on the head right there. Bjorn's just got a freaking an aura rather of just coolness, man. You know, and
he does. He's making great looking food too. I remember when the first time I noticed Bjorn in the Kamado Joe group on Facebook, I said, this guy's making some really good looking food. And he had made this pan of cinnamon sticky buns.
You did the very first cook somebody else's recipe.
Right. And I sent Bjorn an email. I said, man, if you'll share that recipe with me, I'd like to make a video out of that. And this is where I learned exactly what you were just talking about. He's not a lot for words. He doesn't say much because I wanted him to make me a little intro video, introducing this. And, he says, hi, my name's Bjorn. I'm from Sweden, and this is my cinnamon bun recipe. Maybe
he's like Oliver Sivas in Germany, where they're not 100% comfortable with their English, and yet their English is fantastic and way better.
They don't realize this, Eric. That uncomfortable. That Bjorn used to be the exact same way. I remember Rule. Back when Rule first started making content, I said, Rule, you need to get in there and talk. And Rule was self-conscious about his English. And I said, don't be. I said, that will make you even more popular here in the States is your accent.
We didn't realize that. I told him the same thing, and he said they're beating me up so bad here locally. So the people in the Netherlands, he was getting hate mail in the Netherlands for how bad his English was. Meanwhile, in the U.S.,
they're loving it.
We're loving it. We're loving
that. It's crazy. Don't listen to the Europeans because the Americans are the ones that are, ringing up the hits on those videos. I don't know what the demographics look like. I don't know what the analytics look like, but Rule's been hugely successful here in America. Not say what?
That's all 12 of the Netherlands guys are giving a thumbs down. 12,000.
That's okay. He's got 500,000 subscribers.
He's doing great. I'm so excited. Like you said, he just started. For those of you not following Pitmaster X, subscribe to his YouTube channel. He's got this new YouTube channel that is behind the scenes with Morris, his cinematographer. And it's just super talented, and it gives you a behind-the-scenes look at who these guys are. And I think that personable touch, people miss it, especially during this pandemic. People miss people and stories, and it's brilliant.
You can't get to know the person. You don't get to know the person in those videos, and it's just like having you on here tonight. That's one of the reasons I wanted to ask you some of these questions that aren't specifically related to your social media content. People want to know who you are, and when they know who you are, they'll enjoy what you're doing that much more. And I think this is going to be helpful for Rule as well. Bjorn's making video, but yeah, we'll get on Bjorn. I'll make sure Bjorn gets to be a part of this conversation after the fact. I kind of doubt he's with us. Like, you're right, he's probably at one of those heavy metal clubs in Sweden right this minute.
We tried twice to find a heavy metal club in Estonia.
Yeah.
And the deal was every time we went to a bar, we had to have one more drink. So the first bar is one drink, the second bar is 2 drinks, the third bar. And so we're freaking ping pong. And it's somebody else. It rotates. There's only 3 of us. So it rotates who gets to choose the next place. We gave Bjorn 2 times in a row. And he Googling best heavy metal bars in Estonia. And it just didn't pan out. We ended up drinking.
He was out of his element in Estonia. Was that it?
I mean, Bjorn's always in his element. Let's
I don't know anything about Estonia. That's one of the new countries that didn't exist when I was younger.
Yeah, it's. Don't tell them I said this, but they sound like Russians, and it's pretty close to Russia.
That's not uncommon in Eastern Europe. That's not uncommon in Eastern Europe. That's normal. A lot of them spoke Russian for I don't know how many years.
Well, we took a party cruise because it's the only way it's the fastest way to get from Sweden to Stockholm to Estonia is this crazy party cruise. And so that was a nightmare. You can imagine being on a party cruise,
I can imagine it being a good time, and I can imagine
it was
alcohol flowing quite quickly.
Oh, it was a mess. Negronis. We're just gonna say Negronis. That's all I'm gonna say.
And we had just come from some other country before that. We were in Helsinki. That's where the fire sauna was, in Helsinki, way up in Lapland. And we were cooking reindeer liver, reindeer tongue, moose burgers, and poisonous morel mushrooms, false morels, which we boiled 3 times. You boil it, discard the water, boil it, discard the water. You're supposed to get rid of the toxins. And we made these crazy burgers and ate those, and then went into the freaking sauna. It was awesome. It was like a top 3 thing for me in my life. It was awesome. And then to get in trouble for it was like, I'm not into this. I'm not into getting in trouble.
What was it exactly that you got in trouble over? Well,
we had a camera guy with us, and I think there was some nudity and whatever.
Oh,
I mean, it's this happens in Estonia European thing.
So what happened in Estonia stayed in Estonia?
No, this was Estonia. This was in Lapland and
Norway. Or in
not
Scandinavia somewhere.
Anyway, it was incredible. It was incredible. So would change a thing. Wouldn't change a thing. But
looks like my mom's hanging out here with us tonight.
Fantastic.
I've passed her test. She fusses at me when I use certain profanities on here, so she's watching, so she can give me a hard time about it tomorrow.
My grandmother used to say, Eric, every time you want to cuss, think of it as an opportunity to say something more intelligent. And
right.
I don't cuss in the kitchen. Of all places, I don't cuss in the kitchen.
There we go.
Yeah. I saw Gary talking trash about some of our favorite friends in the Netherlands. Gary.
Well, yeah, I'm glad Gervin's with us tonight. He's out here.
I saw him with his COVID shot.
Yeah, they're not going to miss a conversation with you. Some of these guys down here in the Atlanta area, you know all of these guys. You've met them all, so
I'll say that.
Yeah, Luca's here with us. Stephen Hick is here with us from over in Nashville.
Yeah,
Gervin's with us. Mark Ashby was with us. I think he may still be out there. So awesome. So,
John, what are you cooking? What are you cooking these days, brother? What's hot on your grills? What's your go-to cut of beef? What do you got?
Well, I'm a beef ribs guy, right?
Yeah, brisket on a stick, right?
Yes, beef ribs are my favorite of the barbecue meats. But you've seen that big wood-fired oven, that big Alpha that I had.
Yeah. Luca's got one, right?
I traded it in I got rid of that and got a smaller one because I like the smaller one. Suits me a lot better. And I've been having a blast with that thing for the last couple weeks, churning out some pizzas and some other stuff on the wood-fired oven. Don't get me wrong here. Say again.
Is that the Stone?
No, it's an Alpha, a wood-fired oven.
A Stone is one of their.
No, the Stone is gas-fired. That's one of their models. It's a gas-fired version. This is their smallest one. It's called the One, the ONE, and it's got about a 16 by 20 inch cooking deck, and I can have that thing peaking 1,000 degrees in under 30 minutes if I want to do Neapolitan pizza. And I've been feeding pizza to Tanya here. We've been making some different doughs that I like. I've about settled in on my little 24-hour sourdough I really like.
I've been watching.
70% hydration on that sourdough. It's coming out really well.
Yesterday. Real quick, Chef, talk to me about hydration, because so many people want to get into making their own dough. And 1,000 degrees, like everybody's safe for that 450. You're more than doubling that. What's the deal with hydration and heat? Is there a correlation?
Yeah. The amount of water that's in your pizza dough determines how long you can leave it on the grill, in a nutshell. But when people are talking about dough hydrations, they're using what's called Baker's percentages. And in a nutshell, a 70% hydration dough means that you've got 700 grams of water in a kilogram of flour. The water is 70% of the flour weight. So a 60% dough, most pizza doughs are between 60 and 70% hydration, which means either 600 grams of water for a kilogram of flour or 700 grams of water for a kilogram. But the water content of the dough it needs to be changed based on your cooking temperature. You can cook a 70% hydration dough at any temperature you want. It'll cook at 500 degrees. It'll cook at 900 degrees. The texture of it changes. So what I like to do is the 600 degree or the 60%, the lower hydration doughs, I cook them at higher temperatures because they will crisp up and cook better at 900 degrees. If you put a 60% hydration in at 500 degrees, by the time you get your toppings done, your dough's overcooked because all your water's evaporated out of it already. It takes 10 minutes to 12 minutes at 500 degrees, where it takes 90 seconds at 900 degrees. So it's a balancing act, and it's complicated.
Have I told you lately I freaking love your brain? I freaking told you that, brother. Like, you remember you're talking to a freaking dyslexic, right?
Well,
like, cat.
The problem is, Eric, it sounds more complicated than it is. And when I start talking about dough hydration, people say, I'm going to buy my dough at Publix. I don't have to worry about it. But the Publix dough, you can't cook the Publix dough over 500 degrees or it'll turn black on you in a hurry.
Too much sugar. Yeah.
I just made a quick 3-video series recently with all of them are 60% hydration doughs. And I cooked one at 500 degrees on the Dojo. I cooked one at 750 degrees on the Rock Box, and I cooked one at 900 degrees on the Alpha. The same dough recipe. The first one was a 24-hour, no, the first one was a quick 2-hour dough, which has just got more yeast in it. The second one is a 24-hour dough that had less yeast in it. And then the third one was a 72-hour dough that had even less yeast in it. The only ingredient that changed in the recipe is the amount of yeast that went in it. And I cooked them at 3 different temperatures and showed how easy it is to make your dough. I just want people to make their dough. I don't want people to buy pizza dough.
So I'm telling them, like, I put a recipe in with the Dojo, and it's hard to find one. I wish I had altered a little bit. It's hard to find the malt syrup that I put in there, and you can use molasses, and I should have put that in there, but the molasses leads it to be a lower temperature cook unless you thin roll it, and then you got to tell people, well, you got to use the right cheese that melts quick, and you got to use small ingredients on top, and it's a conversation.
But that recipe works on the Dojo because the Dojo likes to be at 600 degrees, and that recipe works great on the Dojo. And also
600. But you don't start at 600 for me, because people aren't used to getting the dough thin enough. So I tell people start at 450 and then make it, because if you have a great dough recipe, I feel like it can be a little thicker because it's as much about the dough as it is the sauce and the toppings.
Right. But the malt powder or the malt syrup is hard to find. I'm fortunate that I've got a homebrew supply shop right down not far from here. Malt syrup you can buy it at homebrew supply shops all day, and it's cheap. So,
but even for peri, I'm finding I'm not writing in, African bird's eye chili. I'm saying use sambal garlic chili paste. So it's a tough pull sometimes when you're writing these recipes. Versus a freaking method,
Well, living where I live, ingredients are difficult because, like I said, you'd never find malt powder. I was trying to put together a usable gluten-free pizza for part of that video series. Some of the ingredients I needed, I had to mail order it. I had to mail order it. So,
but listen. If you have a good gluten-free dough, let me know. But I'll be honest with you, once you've had the real stuff, it's an acceptable. I don't make acceptable food. And as a gluten-free guy, what is that? What is this? Gluten-free. Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay.
You can't make good, thumpy, crusty bread with that. You want
to bet?
Put some gum in there and all kinds of stuff I want to put in my body.
This has got some xanthan gum in it. Uh, the only gluten-free pizzas I've seen so far that I like the appearance of were made with this. So I'm gonna
Like
do
it
one.
all day long, but I've not had as a gluten-free guy. I'm gonna tell you right now. Sometimes I just take the hit. Sometimes I take the hit and I make a real freaking pizza
Well, tell me this:
yeah.
is there any merit to the idea that sourdough is more tolerant to people who are gluten sensitive?
I will let you know a month from today.
I've read that it is, but I don't know it. For a celiac, the answer is no.
I'm not celiac. I'm not celiac.
Yeah.
I just have, look at if you can see this is backwards for me. I'm wearing my ring finger on my right hand because this knuckle swells up so bad.
Yeah.
And like this was a big thing for me. So as a chef, I didn't tell anybody for years. And I was sculling beers, I was eating pizza, I was eating sandwiches, and every day, because as a chef, you got to taste everything in the restaurant. Like I got to the point where I could almost not roll out of bed and stand up because my feet and my ankles were so jacked up. This is as a professional chef in a restaurant where you're on your feet for 16 days. I couldn't put the kids into their car seats because my hands were so messed up. And I was so scared to tell anybody that had an issue because like I'm a chef that's about to lose his hands. Like this is crazy. And silly me. And so then I go to the freaking doctor and they're like, yeah, food allergy. And I'm like, I've been the guy for years. This is a decade ago. Okay. So don't judge me too hard. I've been the guy for years saying celiac, all of a sudden it's not a thing for like hundreds of years. And all of a sudden over like the case of 6 months, like 10% of my diners have a gluten allergy. This is garbage. And it's karma. It came back and it bit me. And, I've always been a chef that said, absolutely, I will cater to anything. But don't tell me you're allergic to garlic and then ranch is okay. Like, get out of my face. You know what I mean? So the gluten allergy thing hit. And all the chefs go to the same bars at night. And I'm like, this freaking gluten thing has got to go. And here I am. And we've got choice words for it that I won't say on camera. But I can't do freaking gluten. And there's a little chef karma for you, folks.
Well, we're up at the hour mark, and I try to keep these things tame in terms of time. I got one more thing I want to run by you here. Kamado Joe has put out in the last 6 months some innovative new products with the Pellet Joe and the Kettle Joe that's getting ready to hit the streets. And I think today their new rotisserie baskets hit the streets. What are your thoughts on? Briefly, what are your thoughts on Pellet Joe?
I've been watching Chef Tom Jackson work that thing left and right. He's got a bunch of videos that are going to drop on the Pellet Joe. I think it plays to a portion of the market that Kamado Joe doesn't speak to right now. That hands-free ability, the Wi-Fi ability. I know we played around with the iCommand a little bit, but just really to be able to tap in and be hands-free, it speaks to a large number of people out there who are going to come to a fork in the road. Whether they've been using briquettes their whole life or gas their whole life, they're going to come to a fork in the road where they want something different. And it's either going to be natural lump charcoal or it's going to be pellets. And to offer something that has pellets is going to kind of push us in that market space and give them an aha moment. I love the idea of ceramic and pellet. For me personally, I like the experience of getting my hands dirty and working with charcoal and live fire.
Yeah, I'm a charcoal guy too. I prefer charcoal, but I've had pellet grill on my property here constantly now for over 7 years, and the Pellet Joe is actually the 4th one. I've still got a Traeger out here also, and there are a couple of things where I like the way the pellet system performs.
It's a different smoke, isn't it? It's a smaller smoke, but
it's a cleaner, and finer, more subtle smoke, and there's certain things I like that on, like chicken and fish. it's a little bit harder. The thing I like about it is it can produce that same amount of smoke consistently. I don't the Kamado with charcoal, the smoke output on it varies from cook to cook. Even with just nothing but charcoal in it, you'll get more smoke one time than you do another. I don't find that to be the case on the pellet grill. But things where I only like it to have a kiss of smoke, like poultry and fish, they do real well on that. The convenience is a big factor. I like the pellet Joe because when I'm done cooking, I'll vacuum out that fire pot and that thing's ready to go if I've vacuumed out the fire pot. And if I decide I want to cook and want to cook quickly, I just run down there, turn the dial on it, go prep my food and go back, and I'm ready to cook. I haven't had to light charcoal. I haven't had to set any vents. I like that about the pellet Joe.
Yeah.
But the kettle Joe's a little different story. Have you had an opportunity to play with the kettle yet?
A lot. Yeah. I've done some photo shoots with it where I was actually cooking for people before and after, and I've got 2 of them on property right now. Obviously being the same, a new, hey, big girl, thank you. Having a new 22-inch circumference or diameter puts us into that Weber play, which I think is a fantastic door to be knocking on.
I do too. I like the fact that they went with the 22. I remember when I don't know exactly when Bobby came, and for what it's worth, this kettle Joe started with Bobby Brennan. It did not start after that, because the week that I met you, Eric, was at HPB or HBP in Atlanta. That is the weekend that Bobby told me he wanted to make a better kettle, and so that's been what, 4 years ago, 4 years ago.
Yeah, probably 4 years ago. So I remember we were making pork bombs that day. I remember.
A bunch of them.
For thousands of people.
This thing's been in the works since then, and I'm glad that we ended up at the 22-inch diameter, because it is compatible. It will have compatibility with some of the accessories that Weber's already put out there, and a couple of the guys, Stephen Hickey and Jeff Ledbetter, I think have been playing with the Weber rotisserie attachment.
It fits.
Kettle Joe. It fits, but I think it needs a minor modification for it to fit just right. But I think Kamado Joe will probably put a really right rotisserie together for that. But the thing here that I'm seeing that I'm liking the idea of is the slow roller insert's going to work on a Weber kettle, and it's going to set.
I've seen a couple of the black Weber kettles with the red waistband of the slow roller in there.
This is something that Bobby was worried about this when he made the Jotisserie. He says, I don't want to put Kamado Joe on it. And I said, why not? He says, because I want to be able to sell it to Big Green Egg people. And I said, Bobby, you need to have Kamado Joe plastered all over that, because the Big Green Egg people are going to buy it anyway, and then you'll have your name on it.
That's
and
right.
This slow roller needs to say Kamado Joe on it somewhere, because it's going to be on these Weber kettles, And I would really
you know what says Kamado Joe at this point, because of Big Green Egg? That freaking red. That Kamado Joe red. Yeah. When you see that, and I know for a lot of people that because when you look at the entirety of grills sold around the world and what piece of a pie, not just Kamado Joe, but ceramics in general have, it's pretty small. Let's be honest. Not a lot. I have a conversation every day. Kamado Joe, who's Kamado Joe? Blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's getting a little easier. I'll tell you that. It's getting a little easier than 4 years ago.
You don't have to answer. Is that one of those Big Green Eggs anymore?
One of their eggs. Well, it's a little bit better.
I don't know this. I believe I need to ask somebody who's actually in the know on this, but I think Kamado Joe has the largest piece of the Kamado market now. Do they not?
You're asking somebody in the know, and the answer is that it has happened, and absolutely, and Whereas before in a meeting, you might hear the word big green egg and not a comparison, but just kind of talk about. There's
Well,
no
I do
there's no
know
need
that was one of Bobby's objectives.
You don't hear big green egg in anymore.
Yeah. Bobby Brennan wanted that to happen, and I'm glad to see that it did happen. So, that says a lot. And, Bobby started out in this business because he wasn't happy with the big green egg. So,
well,
yes.
I think what he wasn't happy with the big green egg was obviously as an engineer, some things that he wanted to fix. But then as he got into the business, he wasn't happy with the amount of money they were spending on marketing as the number one in the category. Because as the number one in the category, it's kind of up to you to grow the category, right? And I've heard him say some choice words to other companies' marketing teams at HBBAs and such, saying, "Listen, if you're going to be the number one, step on the gas. Like, let's see it." I mean, he was never short of work.
Yeah, Bobby was always about growing the category. I don't know how many times I heard him say that because if Big Green Egg sells 50% more grills, that's gonna the boat float the boat higher. The water.
Let me say this too for all the people out there listening right now that have Big Green Eggs. Big Green Egg is not a dirty word in the Kamado Joe world at all. In fact, we love having Big Green Eggs and Kamado Joe side by side because when you lift the lids, the comparison is it's uncomparable.
It's unfortunate that can't happen though. That's one of the things that bothers me is you cannot find a showroom where both of the grills exist.
Big Green Egg strong-armed all their independent dealers that are not doing it, and that's true. That's a choice. That's a bully choice.
I have always been a let's see, what's the term I'm looking for? I've always been multicultural when it comes to Kamados. My Kamado Guru forum is a forum where all Kamado owners are welcome, and
I would never be up on a big. I'm a part of Big Green Egg forums. I answer questions without saying, "Oh, I feel like it's so crazy to me. Like it's just grilling. It's just really it's sharing methods.
Yeah,
it's talking about recipes, and everybody's out there to freaking have a great time and feed their family."
Well, I'm proud to say that I prefer Kamado Joe, but I will stand beside the guy that's cooking on the Big Green Egg and hang out with him all day long.
All day long. Yeah. The folks that get hostility on one side or the other are freaking ridiculous. Let's
it's a tool. Eric, the grill's a tool. Have you ever heard Gordon Ramsay talk about brand A or brand B, a pan that he's cooking with?
Only if it's his.
Only if it. Well, does he have? Has he got his own stuff?
Oh, he's got.
Is he like Emerald? Is he like Emerald now, or Rachel Ray?
So listen, I talk to Emerald every now and again. That dude is the most brilliant self-promoter I've ever met in my entire life.
He is.
I can remember. My pastrami. Have you had my pastrami?
Oh, yeah.
International claim to fame, and I can remember in the Cayman Islands, we were cooking with Nancy Silverton, who is the queen of sourdough, by the way. Mm-hmm. She opened La Brea. She's got Chispaca. She's in LA. I know
she's got an online school now or an online class through master class.
Yeah, it's fantastic. But she's the reason Wolfgang Puck is famous. Like she made me come over to California and do a crazy event at Ojai Valley Inn. And that's where I met Dario, the butcher, who's got freaking hands the size of shovels, and he gives you a hug, and you just this is obviously pre-COVID, right pre-COVID, but it was really crazy. And I cooked the brisket there. Emerald tastes it, and he's just big old mouth full of brisket, going, "Oh baby, oh baby, oh baby," and I was like, "That's all you got to say, chef. That's all you gotta say."
Oh man, that's gotta be wild. Having somebody like that. Yeah. Well, Eric, I appreciate you coming on here with me tonight. Maybe we'll be able to do it again sometime in the future. Have you got anything besides the Virginia event coming up you want to talk about?
So the Virginia event is Crustacean Celebration. It is a ticketed. I've never done a ticketed event where people had to pay and come do this. So this is through the Ties In. This is not like a Kamado Joe block party, those are always free for everybody. Everything is always free. This is through a 75-year-old beautiful boutique hotel. that is right on the Chesapeake Bay, and it's going to be incredible. It's going to be 2 solid days of fun stuff going on with Kamado Joe. Champagne reception, you know, like lobsters, blue crabs, it's gonna be crazy. It's called Crustacean Celebration at Tides End. I'll give John the link. John, I do want to take this opportunity real quick though. Methods. It's all about the method.
Yes.
Recipes are just a guideline. Don't get, folks listening, don't get caught up in a recipe. Do not go to the store if you're missing a tablespoon of something. You have the equivalent of that in those thousands of freaking condiments that you can't get rid of in your freaking your refrigerator door, right? Like
Okay.
if it's a tablespoon of whole grain mustard and you only have yellow mustard, maybe that's the next big thing. So don't be afraid to derivate unless you're doing baking. Or unless you're doing one of Chef John's. Oh, she's there.
This is the next big thing.
That's you.
I had to do that.
You remember when
I had to do that
at that HPBA?
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
I've had that since the day I met you.
Did Tanya just put up that crustacean celebration thing?
It looks like she did.
Oh, you're a legend, Tanya. Thanks for finding that. John, I hope you can come. I'm gonna, invite some Kamado Joe folks, and we'll have to send an invitation to Bobby as well and see if he can do it. But the governor
can do it.
The governor. Yeah, the governor just relaxed some of the restrictions on outdoor dining, and so I think it went from like being able to have 20 people to maybe 100. So seats are limited. We got a spot going out on Garden and Gun here coming up, talking about it. So a lot of fun things. But John, I know we're running along.
That's all right.
I can remember.
Everybody's asking me to keep going because they love listening to you. So
no, they love you. Hey, the first time we really collaborated was with Gabriel. You came out to just outside of Hillsboro, and we shot a tri-tip video together.
Yep.
The Honey Money tri-tip. And we're wearing the same shirt, getting sunburned. Chickens are running around everywhere. I mean, that was a day. And to be honest with you, I think those were some of the first videos I've ever shot, period. So I'm out there sipping white wine, and
that blew for what it's worth, that whole event blew my mind. That's the first time, I make my own videos. I am a one-man production company. I'm the guy that turns the camera on and off. I'm the guy that moves the tripod. I'm the guy that points the camera. And up there in that video shoot, we were doing take after take after take, saying the same thing 10 times. That wore me out.
Bro, I only shot 3 videos. Like we did the tri-tip Honey Money, and then Gabriel and I did the Stromboli.
Yeah.
And I don't know what. Maybe I didn't.
I know what else you did. What was one of them something I really love, and one of them's I like to make fun of.
Tell me about the one you want to make fun of. That's the one I want to hear about.
Okay, what was it? It was a Cheeto encrusted tilapia.
No way. No dice. That was
No, Eric made a wasabi pea encrusted Chilean sea bass that was off the hook, and I got picking on him about it. I said, "You need to make a Cheeto encrusted tilapia."
We have been talking about that for way too long for it not to happen. I'll be honest with you.
But you also made these potato wedges that had lemon and cumin on them, and that lemon and cumin has stuck with me to this day, and I love that flavor combination. It's amazing.
I was introduced to that by a Maori chef in New Zealand, and he's like, bro, his name's Tao. He's also the bartender. He's like, bro, you got lemon, cumin, cumin. I'm like, lemon, cumin, potato, whatever. And I tried it on
came home and made that.
I tried it on a waxy potato, and it was less than glamorous. And he's like, wrong potato. And I was like, what? And so then I tried it on a starchy potato. I did an AP or a chef potato, Idaho potato. and it was magic on the cast iron and the caramelization and
I did mine on the soapstone.
Huh?
I did mine on the soapstone right after I got home from that.
Yeah, that was.
They were off the hook.
Yeah,
lemon juice, and cumin, freshly ground cumin if you can get it, because it's all the difference in the world. The aroma that you get when you put cumin in the mortar and pestle right there and just do it.
I'll tell you,
it's crazy.
Mortar and pestle is a romantic thing, but I find the $15 Walmart coffee grinder, the one that has a little clear top, and I keep on losing the screen because it's backwards. You push the thing and it blitzes everything up. That's what I do all my black pepper in. Like, a pepper mill, yes, but like when I want a tablespoon of black pepper, freaking put black peppercorns in there, boom, 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 and all of a sudden you dump it in your pepper. Same thing with cumin. Like, get those seeds and boom, 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 and the caramelization property on there. Just don't do it too much, right? Because then it becomes the difference between granulated, let's say garlic. We've all seen granulated garlic and garlic powder.
Yeah.
Well, in a barbecue sense or even a saute sense, the powder is going to burn or over caramelize, as chefs would say, but it's really burned.
Absolutely. The granulated garlic's got a better texture. Yeah. The texture of the granulated garlic works better in the overall mix. Also, I had to make that switch also for making rubs, and it makes a big difference. The powder doesn't hold up for sure.
If you're mixing it with things like salt that are really larger granule, it's going to shake out different too. Yeah. You've got your own line with all the folks at Atlanta Grill Company, don't you? Get the Mojo. What else do you have with them?
Well, I've got the AP Mojo, the Pork Mojo, and the Beef Mojo from the Man Cave Meals line. Those are my rub recipes that the guys at Atlanta Grill Company were kind enough to let me add to their line, and I haven't come up with anything yet that's as infamous as that scorpion steak blend, though. I was standing behind you there at Atlanta Grill Company that day when you were popping Lane's bottles open, testing stuff, and you said, "Yep, we're gonna have some of that." And, yep, some of that. And I think you went 1-to-1 with the what's that Hawaiian one called?
Tsunami.
No, it was Kunami. Kunami, SPF 53, and
brisket.
One brisket. Okay, yeah, it's like equal parts. It's like 1-to-1 of that, and I keep a bottle of that on hand because the
scorpion's great.
It's crazy.
It's a tremendous cheat on a high quality seasoning anyway. Like Lane's. I really struggle with seasonings that are large, especially on the dried herbs. Like, I don't freaking like them. And I go over to Europe.
That's a problem I have with the Beef Mojo.
Hey, can I send you my seasoning? I'm like, no.
That's a problem I have with the beef. The Beef Mojo's got rosemary in it, but the rosemary pieces are too big and they won't shake out of the shaker.
Yeah, well, that you got to open up the other side. Yeah,
you have to go in the other way with it. But if you just if you shake the Beef Mojo with the shaker, you'll end up with a couple tablespoons of rosemary at the end of the bottle because they won't shake out.
Really nicely seasoned rosemary, which I imagine, like, if you're cast iron with butter with like a ribeye and spooning it over, like be pretty nice,
Well, it's got that one's got coffee in it too, so it's a little bit of an odd flavor. It's got ground coffee. It's
your beef has coffee and rosemary. What else is in it?
Cayenne,
some salt.
Cumin.
Salt, pepper.
Yeah, it's got salt in it. Salt, pepper.
You gotta have plenty. That's the thing. When I taste these beef rubs, I like sweet rubs. Okay. Yeah. I opened a restaurant in the mountains of North Carolina, and I figured out something crazy, John. The flavor profiles of the people in the mountains of North Carolina are different than the flavor profiles of the people on the coast.
Yep.
Surprisingly enough, the people in the mountains like sweet better than the people on the coast who like salt.
It's the same way with the barbecue sauce.
It just all across the board. Sauces, seasonings, desserts, everything. And as soon as I figured that out, it was called like BYOB, and we opened it up right on the edge of build your own burger, and we opened it up right on the campus at the edge of what's the Appalachian State, and right next to the Blockbuster Video. I'm dating myself, you know, people would come in there and build their own burger, and they would taste it, and I'd put the right amount of salt on the burger. I'm like, this is fantastic, you're gonna love it, and they're just like, that's okay, that's okay. It was fan-freaking-tastic. And then I saw what sides were being eaten and what sides weren't being eaten. And I was like, we got to sweeten it up. They're killing the freaking coleslaw, and that's the sweetest thing on the menu. We got to freaking so we sweeten everything up. It was freaking gangbusters, not Blockbuster, gangbusters.
We got Jason Jackson in the house with us from Australia, and he says Vegemite's a good rub on beef. That's going to bring, you know, come on now, Eric. That's an umami of its own. It's
listen, yeah, on its own, because nobody wants to be on that boat. It's terrible. I don't care if you're talking Marmite or Vegemite. It's not even regional. You can't even call it continental.
I played with it. Jason, when I met Jason, he handed me a bottle of Vegemite, and I played with it, and I see the umami there, but my only issue with it is I haven't figured out how to apply it yet, because if an Australian will smear that on toast, I can't go with that. That doesn't work.
Can I tell you how to apply it? You know, but no. So they talk about ways to cook certain birds that you find around the world, and the great Aboriginal recipes of how to use Marmite. Okay, we're talking Vegemite, no Vegemite, right? We're talking Vegemite. Which one? You have Vegemite or Marmite?
I have Vegemite.
Okay, so here's the best way to do the Vegemite. All right, so you take the bird, okay, a local duck, okay, beautiful, right? This should pair well because the umami, it's got the sweet, it's going to coat well. You paint it all over the bird. You roast the bird. This is an Aboriginal that taught me this recipe, and I hope we've got both Kiwis and Australians listening right now. Take the bird, you coat it in Vegemite or Marmite, you sear it. You put it in a pot of water. You put a brick on top of it, and you fill the water just above the brick, and you boil it for about 12 hours. You continue to fill up the water so it's above the brick, okay? When 12 hours is done, you take the bird out, throw it in the trash, and you eat the brick.
Now that's just not nice, Eric. I was listening. I was waiting for the aha moment here, and it just you let me down, Chef.
I didn't. Now I'll also show you this. I'm into matches, and I found Strike Anywheres. Remember those back in the day? They're kind of
yeah. Used to strike them on my zipper.
Yeah, but I think you can even strike them on each other.
Yeah.
These are pretty cheap.
Okay, kids, do not try this at home. Let me put the disclaimer up there right quick. Eric's getting ready to hurt himself.
Boom! But I think I see these people with these torches. I'm under the impression I think matches are so much more of a lifestyle piece than a lighter, or like these crazy afterburners or these other things. What do you light your fires with right now?
Who, me?
Yeah.
I'm using, most of the time, I use the Kamado Joe fire starter cubes, and I cut them in half. I'm getting ready to do something I said I would never do, but I'm going to play with one of these like flamethrower torches. Have you seen these things? Like, it's called the Grill Blazer.
I've not seen the grill blazer. Can
Are you
it
familiar?
also do your freaking gravel driveway?
Yeah, yeah. It's the same thing they sell at Harbor Freight for $30, but the barbecue version of it's $150, and it hooks up. Yeah, it hooks up to one of those blue map torch or blue propane cylinders.
Yeah,
And
no, I want a backpack. It's got to be a backpack.
it'll throw. No, it's not a backpack thing. It's not that elaborate. That will be the $250 version.
Yeah, that's right, for the straps. Yeah.
But it'll throw a flame 18 inches, and it's a hard blue flame at like 300,000 BTU. That when you throw it down on some lump charcoal, it looks like a spark fest going off. But I'm gonna play. They taunted me last week into trying one of these things, so I ordered one. But I think I'm gonna use it to light my wood-fired oven because I'm gonna stuff, splints in there. I think it'll be awesome for lighting that wood-fired up.
It would be perfect for that, but for lighting natural lump dude, if you're getting sparks out of your big block, it's not the right apparatus. Let me show you, John. I don't know if you're gonna think this is excessive or if you're gonna dig it. I've got another little addiction, and it has become this auction site. So here in Hillsborough, this little town in North Carolina, we have the largest auction house in between DC and Atlanta. So it's like crazy cool stuff rolling through here all the time. I found something called a match safe. Okay.
Oh boy.
So matches were invented in, I think, 1826. This comes 20 years later, and it's sterling silver, but from Russia.
Well, it has a cool factor, if nothing else.
Bro, it's so cool.
It's beautiful.
You strike it right. You strike it right there.
Oh, it's got a rough surface on the bottom.
And that's why you need to strike anywhere.
Oh yeah.
I can't. Of course, I got the match that's not going to light.
There we go.
And so, like, I'm telling you, bro, the match safe. And my wife said if I could keep this thing without losing it for an entire year, she's going to get me a Mont Blanc pen.
Oh boy.
It's a little.
That'll be the one. That'll be the one you lose. I've had one of those. I had one of them, and when I lost it, I said I'm not going to do that again.
Well, I really want one, because hey, I'm down to 5%. We need to shut this off before my phone dies.
Yeah, we got to go because I'm running.
I
went 30 minutes longer than I normally go. But Chef, I appreciate you coming on with me. Maybe we'll do this again down the road.
Anytime.
It's definitely been fun. And get me Tanya has already, like I said, she's already found the link for that event. I'll get something posted up on Man Cave Meals about that so we can share it. So everyone that's with me, I appreciate you hanging out. We do this every Friday night at about 7:30. So I hope you can join me next time around. And until then, y'all have a good weekend.